Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of D&D CR Exposed. On today's episode we are looking at the Bhaal Ravager. That is just a terrible coincidence of names here. I guess we'll just call it the Ravager for sake of not being demonetized. If I was monetized, I'm not actually, so Ravager it is for now. Okay, before we get into the Ravager here, let's talk about the tool and get the business out of the way here. If you like this tool, you like what I'm doing here, you too can get this tool, absolutely for free. Just check the link in my description for my Ko-fi page where you can go over, check out the tool, get it for free, download, or if you feel so inclined to, donate. It's up to you. Doesn't matter to me. I appreciate it one way or the other. As long as people are using this, that is okay with me. On top of that, if you also want to request a monster or suggest one for the channel, then go ahead and either, leave a comment. That would be awesome for the YouTube algorithm, or hit up the Google link and fill out the form. Either way, I will get that and add it to my list, which, it's there. Okay, with that out of the way, let's look at the Bhaal Ravager. God, that's a terrible name. Okay, this one is a bit of a beefy one here, as you can see on the side, so let's get right into it. 20 AC. We got ourselves a huge beast, and that is going to be 26 D12 with the following stats of 28 Strength, 24 Dex, 24 Con, 14 Intelligence, 16 Wisdom, and 14 Charisma. Out of the corner of my eye, I just saw that DCR drop. My goodness. 351 average hit points. Alright, moving on, we have ourselves Strength, Dex, and Charisma, so that is going to be 3 of 4 saving throws, giving us a +2 effective AC bonus, and on top of that, we should be putting in 24 here for various things to happen here, like getting the proficiency bonus and whatnot, which in this case is a +4 for a CR 24. From there, we take a look at the skills. Don't matter. We have resistances to necrotic, and we also have immunities to acid, cold, fire, lightning, and poison, plus damage, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. Those really don't matter at this point, but the acid, fire, cold, and lightning could come into effect, if we got a couple casters or special weapons and what have you. So we'll throw that in for now and take a look at it without it afterwards, in case our players are bypassing it. From there, we have damage immunities, which we already looked at. We have condition immunities. Those don't matter for 5th edition. Senses, languages, challenges, whatever. We're moving on. Next, we have Avatar Bhaal. That is just the regeneration thing. They come back after 24 hours. Doesn't matter. Cull the Weak. Ravager damages a creature with a melee attack, and the target is left with 20 or fewer remaining hit points. The creature must make a DC con save or be reduced to 0 hit points. So basically, that's just 20 damage right off the top. We probably won't see that in the first 3 rounds of combat, so I'm not necessarily worried about Cull the Weak. We could potentially look at that later on if need be. Immutable form doesn't matter. Legendary resistances do matter, along with the general combo of magic resistance. So we'll go ahead and throw in 3 legendary resistances there, and then also hit up the magic resistance. Then we have magic weapons, which are thrown into the attack. That doesn't matter for here. Spiked Hide. At the start of each of the turns, the Ravager deals 16 piercing damage to any creature grappling it or being grappled by it, which likely will happen. So we'll go ahead and throw that in here just to try and remember. Probably won't, but, who knows. So we got our 16 damage there. Then we'll take a look at our actions and our legendary actions. So for our action, we have multi-attack. Ravager uses Fear Aura if available, and taking a look at the Fear Aura, which is where's the Fear Aura? Okay, having taken a moment here to look for the Fear Aura, I don't see it, so I don't know where this is in the document here, unless I'm missing it. Yeah, alright, we're just going to move on and take a look at our attacks here. So then we have, makes 1 bite attack, 2 claw attacks, and 2 spine attacks. So weird. Fear Aura, there's no wording here for anywhere, but whatever. Fear doesn't really matter at this level anyways. So we have a +16 to hit for our bite and claws. We have a +14 to hit for the spines. And we've got 1 bite, 2 claws, and 2 spines. So that would be, on average, what would we have for the average? Let's see here. Let's throw that in. So we'll say average, and we'll say 16, 16, 16, and then 2 14s. 15.2. All right, so we'll just round that down. There we go, to 15. So on average, we'll have a 15 2-hit bonus here. And then for our attacks, for the damage, we have, let's see here. For the first one, we're going to have the claw of 22.5 plus 7 necrotic damage. And then if the creature needs to make a con save or have its maximum hit points reduced by the amount equal to the damage taken. If the target dies and reduced to 0, the reduction lasts until removed by Great Restoration. Okay. For that. So basically, we have to double the damage here because this is permanent damage that can't be restored. And in essence, yeah, it is doing double duty here. So we're going to go ahead and multiply that by 2. And then we're going to take a look at the bite, which is next, of 25.5 plus 7 necrotic, and has the same deal here. Constitution saving throw, the hit point maximum is reduced. On top of that, larger, smaller creatures damaged by this attack are grappled. So that's where our grapple will come into play for the carapace thing we saw in the traits. So once again, we're going to multiply this by 2 because it's all damage, and we'll end up with 65 there. And for the spiked hide, we will go ahead and add that in as well for additional damage here. So every turn, what was it? At the start of its turns, the Ravager deals piercing damage to the grappled target. Where would I put that in? It would come in the second time around. So, you know, we will worry about that for rounds 2 and 3. Then we have the spine attacks. And the spine attacks are doing, what are they doing? Yeah, we're doing 17.5, and then the target fails a con save. They are stunned until the end of the next turn. So I have a new little system over here that I may not have pushed forward yet, and it's stunned until the next round. So let's see here, stunned. Targets affected 1 plus 9 hit points. So because the spines deal damage, and technically we are getting 2 spine attacks, we could say that we are getting, you know what, yeah, 2 targets. In essence, probably 27 effective hit points. So we're going to add that in for the spine attacks. Okay. From there, we now look at our legendary actions. We have Detect, which doesn't matter. We have Smash, which could be something. So let's take a look at that. Ravager smashes the ground, creates a thunder wave. Any creatures in a 10-foot cube originating from the Ravager, which for a huge monster isn't very big for... that doesn't make any sense. 10-foot cube, that should be a much bigger cube, honestly. But it doesn't matter. Con save, the creature suffers 36 damage and is pushed 5 feet away. So that would be 2 for the price of 1. So we could do that a total of 3 times, technically, per round of combat. So we'll do 36 times 3, not divide, for 108 damage. And then on top of that, we also have the Spiky Carapace, which takes 2 actions. The Ravager flares its numerous spines and they elongate. Any creatures that start their turn within 5 feet of the Ravager make a dex save or suffer 44 piercing damage. The damage is halved with a successful save. Alright, so for this instance, it's only 5 feet away, but it is a huge creature. We could, in essence, maybe say 2 targets, but because it's only 5 feet, I'm going to go with 1 here. So we'll go ahead and throw in 1 point worth of damage, plus we're going to also add in 1 use of the Smash if we were to use legendary action number 3, which is another 36 points of damage. And in essence, unless we need to do this, if we have more than just 1 target, then this might be worthwhile, but for the sake of thinking about strategies of the players, more than likely they're going to stay as far away as possible if they don't need to be in melee. So that's pretty much it. We're going to go ahead and do our multi-attack. So let's start lining this all up. We have our 1 claw. We have our 2 bites. So that will be this times 2. And then we're adding in 2 spine attacks as well. Right? 1 bite, 2 claw, and 2 spine. Yep. Okay. Times that by 2 as well. So we have a multi-attack of 224 damage. That's fine. So we will go ahead and throw in the multi-attack here. We're going to throw in concentration for our legendary actions because we will be doing the smash every round of combat. And then starting on rounds 2 and 3, we will also add in that spiked carapace thing for grappled targets, which also reminds me we need to add in +1 for a target being constricted technically and grappled, so that will give the Ravager a +1 effective AC bonus here. From there, we then go and take round 2. We will add that in, and then we will also add in the damage from up here for the spikiness of the carapace. And then we will just repeat that for round number 3. And that should give us... Oh, look at that. A lot of damage. Okay, so this is best bet that more than likely this CR24 may actually be a CR30 if everything goes according to plan. More than likely it won't, and we should probably take roughly the average of what could potentially happen damage-wise, or maybe not so successfully. You know, the battlefield moves around a lot, and in essence, this is probably going to be closer to maybe half of that, so maybe more like a CR, I don't know, 28 or 27 possibly. But also, let's take a look at bypassing immunities. I mean, we do have a bunch of random immunities that may or may not be bypassed. Resistances at this level don't matter, and it only drops it by 1 stage to a CR 29 in theory. Again, your results may vary depending on whether or not the monster is landing its hits. Dice rolls could be a big thing. Let's take a look here if we don't include the double damage as well. So we'll throw the immunities back on just for the sake of things. And argument's sake, we will reduce this to 1. Actually, you know what, let me put that... Let me get that back in here. I'll just say ×1 for now. Yeah, and see where the damage goes there. So if we don't count the maximum hit point reduction, then our CR30 goes down to a CR28. Now, there's one other thing here that I have as an experimental feature, which is a complaint of mine. If you look at the expected AC of monsters, they go from 13, and then they hit 19 at CR 17, and then it sticks all the way to CR30. I've done a little bit of like examinations of the chart here, and I think that technically they should be changed a little bit, and we should see a higher expected AC for a monster at this level for CR24. And that technically would drop the monster to a CR27 if we were expecting to have, you know, a CR or an AC of 21 here for a CR24. But that's just something I've noticed. So, experimental feature, use it or don't. It basically just gives the monster more hit points if you use that little feature there from the tool. And it's not guaranteed to be correct, obviously. So, not counting in the maximum hit point damage reduction here. And, you know, if we take off the stun conditions, maybe our monsters or our heroes don't get stunned, then we're looking at CR27. And if we get rid of immunities, then we're looking at CR26. So we're getting a little closer to that marker of CR24 here. And at this level, really a CR24 and 26 aren't that all, you know, they're not that much different, to be honest. And surprisingly enough, you know, there is a lot of damage here, which is nice. We could also play around with the legendary actions to see what might happen there. But to be honest, you know, it's not that huge of a deal here. And on top of that, we could potentially look at the con saves as a different route here, because we have a con save of 21. We're doing a lot more con saving than we are actually hitting things, because the smash needs a con save, and that's going to be multiple creatures. So we could also say, what's the average here for this? And just for the sake of it, let's see what we would have here instead. So we have, what? 121 con save for the first one. We have another 21 twice for the claws. We have a 19 on the spines. And then we have potentially upwards of 6 20s. So we'll just say, yeah, I'm gonna have to do this way. Unfortunately, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in theory, we have a DCR. Excuse me. Let me switch that to DCR of 20. And that doesn't really change things much. It still gets us down to about a CR 26. So, you know, for the fact that this is suggesting it's a CR 24, it may not be wrong. This may be pretty close to correct. And I would probably play it at that. More than likely, we're not going to, well, it's a bell curve. So in theory, the CR30 that I've projected here is at the higher end of the bell curve, where it's very unlikely to happen. And more than likely, this is probably what we should expect. Probably about a CR26 experience here. CR24 would be probably if everything was going wrong for the GM. So that is my best guess here for the Bhaal Ravager from Minsk and Boo's Journal of Villainy. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode this week. And again, if you like this tool and you'd like to get it for yourself to help you make balanced monsters for your game of D&D 5e, then go ahead and check out my Ko-fi link in the description below. Go ahead and grab it for free or donate if you'd like, and I will catch you guys next week.